And I just know that Miss Julia Stiles' friend Mandela is running the tortured poets department like the fucking Navy.
Dude, no shot.
Can't take credit for that. I saw a really great tweet, I'll retweet it on our Twitter, that was like, no offense to Taylor, but tortured poets department sounds like something that this Shakespeare-obsessed bitch from 10 Things I Hate About You would call her Shakespeare book club. And I'm like, ugh.
I hate it. I don't nearly keep tabs on the Grammys the way that I do with, like, the Oscars or anything like that. But all the shit that happened this year has got me talking about it.
I also don't really keep up with it. I don't really know too much about it. I know that, like, women won every fucking category, which is cool. But I also, like, I don't want to be a hater, but I just cannot believe that Taylor Swift's album is the best of the year. I'm sorry, that just can't be true. Like, her music is fine, but it's department store music. Like,
yeah, I've listened to it. It's fine. It's another Taylor Swift album. But Renaissance, like, Jay-Z was right. Like, it's embarrassing to, have to have someone speak up like that about it. She should, like, Beyonce shouldn't have to be in that position. And then have a man do it, like, ugh.
Cringe. The only thing I knew is I was following because Greta Van Fleet was nominated, but their album, it wasn't even that good. So I was like, honestly, they're not gonna win.
Didn't they lose to Paramore?
But I was, like, hoping. Yeah, which honestly, I was like, slay. I was like, slay, Paramore, you probably deserve it. And the only other thing I know is, like, the Boy Genius drama is, like, that they're splitting up, and that it's, like, you know, obviously it's a super group and they're not gonna, like, stay together, but I've heard, you know, people say that there's, like, some animosity.
Really? You think?
Yeah, somebody who was working with Lucy Dacus, like, said on Twitter that, like, when Phoebe Bridgers is brought up, she's like, it's a sore subject. Like, don't talk about. Yeah, so I don't know how true that is. That's just, like, Twitter gossip. But seeing them together all the time, I'm like, ooh, are they, like, holding it together by, like, a thread?
That makes sense.
Like, do they secretly hate each other?
Well, I could certainly see no one being, like, upset with Julian Baker. Like, that's just a puppy.
Yeah, the little one. Yeah, the tweets that are, like when they have to hold the little one back. Or, like...
Well, I had one of my favorite Twitter account right now is Pooh Crave.
Oh my god! Did you send me something from them?
Yeah,
that was like Taylor Swift holding like a MAGA flag, which is like so fake.
Yeah, but they put out like because they do fake articles basically in the style of Pop Crave for anyone that's not on Twitter. But they did one that was like about Boy Genius, and it was a quote, and it was like, "Yeah, the big one just fingers the living shit out of us." And it had me crying. But speaking of Boy Genius, this movie that we're covering today, I feel like Cat Stevens really inspired Phoebe Bridgers.
Oh, you mean Cat Stratford? Cat Stevens?
Not Stevens. Stratford, yeah. Why did I say Cat Stevens? No, not Cat Stevens, Cat Stratford.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like, she watched this movie and was moved by it.
Yeah, she's the right age, too, right? Like, millennial. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, but hey, everyone who's listening, welcome to The Swamp. It's our podcast. It's an acronym. It stands for...
Some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And this month, we have let my mother, Jen, who hosts our interim podcast segment, Chocolate or Vanilla, she's a series regular, and she has politely asked that she gets to pick all of the movies for this month, because it's her birthday month. And this past year, we let Emily have April, I got December, as per birthday rights. And so Jen was like, hey, can I have one of those? And I was like, sure.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Before we started this call, I was telling Emily that, like, Jen politely showed me a list, and I was like, no, like, pick whatever you want. And she's like, no, I just want to make sure. And I looked at the list, I was like, yeah, Jen, I am gonna have to veto half of these. Like, sorry. Mm-hmm. But she narrowed down her list. I promise I didn't pick them for her. I just told her that we would not be doing the Fast and the Furious, no matter how many birthdays she has. We will not be doing that here. But so to start off the month, she wanted us to cover 10 Things I Hate About You, which I think is an excellent choice. I think that this is one that was like when we, like, day one of The Swamp, when we made a little list of like, oh, stuff we could do, like, I think I put this on here. Like, Definitely. It has been
Yeah.
a long time coming that I've wanted to cover this
Yeah.
movie, especially because you've never seen it.
Never seen it, which also, this is technically, this is like our 3-year movie.
Oh, holy
Right?
fuck. Yeah, wow, I
Yeah.
didn't even think of that. Yeah, last year we did Shrek 2, and then we were like, we can't do Shrek 3
No.
because that sucks.
So this is
yeah, I guess-
fitting. This is perfect.
Wow, happy Swampaversary,
Happy
Em.
Swampaversary!
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Thank you to everyone who has been there listening to this podcast for however long, if you've been here since like 21? Or like since last week. I'm so happy to have you here.
I was thinking the other day, I'm like, should I go back and listen to some early ones and see if my, like, opinions stand? And I'm like, oh no, because then I'm gonna end up deleting all of them. I'm gonna be like, I said what? Like, fully... I'm sorry, that is not the same person I am today. if something I said in the first 100 episodes, I'm sorry, that I no longer support her.
I don't even listen to the same ones from 6 months ago. It's like going back and reading your old journals, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I can't do that.
Which, speaking of journals, this movie is named after one of the writers of this movie read her old diary to, like, tap into teen angst.
Nice.
To, like, get into it, and she had a diary titled 10 Things I Hate About Anthony, and it was about her, like, high school boyfriend, and so she was like, let's call the movie that. And, like, that's why the whole, like, because the poem at the end isn't even really, like, is it 10 things? That's kind of debatable. Like, they don't say the name of the movie. It's not really relevant until, like, the very, very end.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make sense, but it's just because her high school diary was titled 10 Things I Hate About Anthony, which I think
love
is
that.
so funny.
That fucking rocks. That makes it so much better. But yeah, I hadn't seen this movie until I think I'd watched like half of it. I'm really good at watching halfway through a movie and then never touching it again. And this was one of them. I think I watched like the first half like a year ago or so, and I got up to the paintball scene and then I stopped.
Which, honestly, that's kind of fair.
But also, that's like 75% of the movie. Like, why couldn't I just finish it?
Yeah, but I feel like at that point, Heath Ledger has already had all of his sexiest moments. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for. And so at that point, he, like, you know, that's when it turns that he's an asshole until the very end, which we can get into the questionable things in this film. This is, like, my problematic fave. Like,
Oh, yeah.
rewatching this movie, I'm like, oh, this is so misogynistic. I'm like, yet it invented feminism. So, like, where do I stand?
It's bad, but it's so bad that and it's good at the same time. And, like, it's definitely one of those movies I enjoyed a lot, and I'm willing to overlook any of the problematic things because I think it's iconic. I think Heath Ledger is such a cutie. I think that knowing that it's based off of Shakespeare makes it so much better just watching, like, the whole plot lines. I really loved that about it. I'm willing to look past the 1999 of it all. You know what I mean?
I am to a certain extent, but there are just some things that I'm like, the OBGYN dad, like, telling his daughters that they're unfuckable is, like, so weird. Like, her flashing her soccer coach. There are just a couple of key moments.
That was bad.
Where I'm like, oh, this did not age well, and it's not even, like, redeemable in, like, a funny way, or, like, a plotline way. Like, it's just straight up, like, misogynistic and, like,
the PMS
problematic
jokes.
Yeah, some of them, you know, again, I'm like, oh, it was the 90s, but it's like, but yet, I love this. I'd maybe put this movie in, like, my top 10. Like, largely for nostalgia reasons, I would say. I definitely, both of my parents really loved this movie, and it was one that they would stop if it was on TV. So I also had seen it, like, growing up in, like, fragments until I was, like, you know, old enough or, like, had the, you know, thought to, like, actually sit down and watch the whole thing. But I was, like, pretty familiar with, you know, the general beats of it before I had actually ever seen, you know, the whole thing. And it was on in my house all the time.
I'll tell you what, I love your parents' film taste because it goes from, like, very much, like, dad films to this and, Pitch Perfect.
It's very much can be defined by whatever, like, made a lot of money in my mind, right? Like, if it was a blockbuster hit, my parents probably liked it. Like, that Jason Statham movie, The Beekeeper, that just came out, and I'm like, who the fuck went to see that? Like, my parents did. That's who went to see that. Like, right? Like, whatever is, like, bad. Headlining, right?
I'll tell you what, though. I would be interested to see that because little baby not baby, he's 30 years old, but Josh Hutcherson's in it with a little mullet.
That's baby girl.
That's, yeah.
But yeah, so I grew up watching this movie a lot. Like, I probably watched it in, like, middle school and high school, which I think is the prime, target demographic age. It's definitely a rom-com. It's like a chick flick, you could say. And I would say that my attachment to this movie is really similar to what a lot of people our age have for Mean Girls.
Yeah.
I also love Mean Girls and have that, like, sort of relationship with it, but as far as, like, chick flick that you really latched onto and, like, I can, like, do the little, like, not just the big dialogue quotes, but, like, the little side character, like, I feel like a lot of people our age have that with Mean Girls, right? Like, they can, like, pull a reference, like, from, like, a background character, twists her hair, kind of, and now it's, like, iconic or whatever. Like, that's how I feel about this movie. Like, I've probably seen it a million times.
Damn.
And I would say it's my number one, rom-com or chick flick.
Yeah, probably. You don't have a lot of them, so.
No.
But I would say that this is a good one if you're gonna have one. It makes sense for you.
Also, I just, like, the Heath Ledger of it all, really. Like, I'm not gonna get too, like, depressed about it, but just, it's wild to me. This watch around really made it apparent to me how young he was when he passed away. It's crazy, because when you're growing up, when you're
32?
He was 28. Yeah, I feel like when you're growing up, just like a teenager, anyone who's older than you is an adult in your eyes, right? Like, if you're 18, anyone who's over 23 just, like, seems like an adult, right? And so I always just thought, he also looks a little older than he actually is. Like, he's 20 in this movie, and I was fully like, that's a 35-year-old man. Like, come on. But he was 20 in this, yeah. And then he died in 2008, which was 8 years later.
Wow, I had no idea he was that young.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, I do think he, like, even when he was closer to that age, I always thought he looked a little older. Like, he could, like, in this movie, I'm fully, like, it's crazy to me that he's 20 in this. He looks 27 minimum. Like, he looks old as fuck. But yeah, it really astonished me how young he was when he died. R.I.P. R.I.P. Heath Ledger.
Yeah, that's what, isn't that your Letterboxd bio?
It is, but honestly, like, then I think about it, like, the performances he did, like, he did all that when he's in his 20s. What have I done? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, right? I'm putting up IKEA shelves and calling it a day.
That man was broke back on the mountain, like, incredible.
Ugh, dude, if that's, like, something, like, I would ask a genie to fix. It's like we go back in time and Heath Ledger doesn't die.
Yeah, and, like, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I mean, so many great, you know, actors. I've been seeing, it was, like, an anniversary recently for Philip Seymour Hoffman's
I saw that.
passing. I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter about it, and I was just like, oh, it's just, it's so tragic.
Yeah. I just watched Boogie Nights with him for the first time. And
I tried to watch that movie and I accidentally put on, what's the John Travolta one? Saturday Night Fever.
That's so funny.
Because I just didn't know that those were two different movies.
Yeah, pretty different.
Would you recommend it? All I know is that it was Mark Wahlberg being like, my cock is huge.
It's my big dick. I want to fuck. Yeah, I'd recommend it. It's, like, brilliantly stupid. You know what I mean?
I feel pretty, like, on the fence about Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, he's kind of hit or miss for me, and he's, like, revered as being so great, but, like, some of his movies I'm like, eh. So I would be interested in, like, educating myself on some of his earlier stuff, because, like, I love There Will Be Blood, like.
Yeah, same, but I haven't seen any, like, other, like, really goofy ones from him.
Yeah.
And because that's not a goofy movie. That's just a very good movie. And I haven't seen Licorice Pizza still. It doesn't really speak to me. I don't know that I will anytime soon.
It's a no from me, dog. Like, I was not a fan.
I found Boogie Nights, like, just a taste of, like, the Coen brothers kind of stupid. So if you like them...
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Which Ethan Coen's coming out with a new movie with, God, what is it? Jack Antonoff's wife.
Oh, Margaret Qualley.
Yeah.
Qualley.
Yeah, her and someone else, and it's like very like, oh, Beanie Feldstein is in it. It looks really funny. I saw a trailer for it like the other week.
Yes, I saw that trailer too, and I was like, why is no one talking about this? This looks kind of fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely interested in that. It's like the girls on a road trip and they like find drug money or something. Yeah.
I think Pedro Pascal is in it, and then maybe Coleman Domingo? I can't remember if it was him or someone else, or...
That sounds like a stacked cast.
Yeah, but... Yeah, I saw that when I was sat for, what is it? All of Us Strangers, which, if you haven't seen it, or if anyone is thinking about seeing it, bring a fucking box of tissues. I cried for the last hour of it.
That's what I saw a TikTok where somebody's like, don't see this movie at 1 p.m. because then the rest of your day is ruined.
Yeah.
You thought you were going to the grocery store after this? No, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, just prepare to be devastated. I haven't seen it yet, though.
I think it's coming to, like, Hulu on, like, the 22nd, so...
Yeah, I can cry in the privacy of my own home.
Exactly.
Speaking of stacked casts, though, this is, like, everyone's first big thing. Like, this was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's, like, first
really
kind of breakout role. Yeah, this was, Allison Janney even really hadn't been in too much. Like, The West Wing had yet to premiere, so, like, she hadn't really taken off from that. I don't know if Heath Ledger had been in stuff before this. I would assume
not that much.
But this was his first American movie, so this is, like, the first, I think, like, big, like, blockbuster-y type thing. Julia Stiles, weird fact is that she got cast in that hip-hop movie, Save the Last Dance, because of the table dancing scene in this movie, which really should clue you in to how the quality of dancing is in Save the Last Dance.
Yeah, I don't think I ever need to see it. I also feel like I've never seen Julia Stiles in any other movie after this. Which I don't think is true, but, like, I don't know what her career is these days.
I don't know now what she does, but I know she was in that movie Mona Lisa's Smile, which had, like, Julia Roberts.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
And everyone, which I also thought was just, like, kind of fine. But she was really popping off in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then I think as most actresses do, once they turn 30, they're like, alright, you can just...
go
live in a shack in the woods now.
Well, here's this coffin for you, since you're already 1 foot in the ground. What do you think of her acting in this movie?
I'm not looking at anyone other than Heath Ledger, to be honest. Like, I don't care. Any scene that he's in, I don't give a fuck about anyone else. So it's, like, hard, because it's, like, all of my attention is, like, laser focused in.
Of course.
But I think she's fine. I think that, her character's a little... written in a certain way that I don't really know if anyone could have acted it too differently. You know what I mean? I think she's fine. I don't really have any strong opinions about her in this. Her or the sister. I think they're both just kind of like weirdly obtuse, nothing female characters who are just like used as pawns in this story. Which it's it's based on Shakespeare, of course.
Yeah.
But, like, in the way that it's like, oh, she wants to start a band. I'm like, at what point are we clued in to that she, like, can play an instrument other than her, like, in the fucking Guitar Center? Like,
literally.
You know what I mean? Or, like, she's like, oh, I'm just such a feminist. But it's like, okay, well, like, your actions are really not, like, backing that up. So, like, what...
Where?
But,
you're a feminist where? Yeah.
She's I love that opening scene where we're sort of introduced to everyone in the classroom, and her teacher is like, okay, well, take your like 16-year-old white feminist back to your mansion that your daddy lives in, and like, go petition for things at the PTA meeting, but like, just know that you are privileged. And I was like, oh, that's the way that some things have aged poorly in this movie, but I'm like, it seems a little self-aware, right? Like, the OBGYN dad stuff that's, like, passed off for laughs. I'm like, well, at least it's in a way that's, like, this is not chill, right? Like, it's not chill that he's being this way towards his daughters. But there are some minor things that I'm like, oh... where nobody's laughing, and it's a little too serious, like, but some parts of it I'm like, okay, well, at least this movie's like, okay, white feminist, like, that's pretty progressive for the 90s, I would
Absolutely.
say.
I did love that part. I love, what's his name, Mr. Morgan, just hating on all these kids. I thought was brilliant. I thought that aged fine. I am still obsessed with Allison Janney's character just writing smut in her free time. I thought that was... fucking brilliant.
that's, like, the poorly aged thing there of her, like, staring at Heath Ledger's cock and then, like, implementing it into her little fanfic is, like, okay, ew, not okay, but it's, like, that is so funny. Like, bratwurst, come on.
It's hilarious.
Like, she's got all these posters behind her that are, like, Washington State romance novel, you know, like, consortium or whatever. I'm like, girl, she is on Wattpad. Like...
She runs it, dude.
She wrote 50 Shades of Grey. That's under her pseudonym. Like, she was writing Twilight fanfic that went a little too far.
Yeah, definitely. So those two characters loved. On the opposite side of the coin is David being such a fucking incel.
David Krumholtz, Bernard the Elf.
Hated his character.
Well, he's 57 years old.
Which is insane.
Look at him. That's an adult man in high school. Like... The way that fully I grew up watching this movie being like, oh, I'm gonna get to high school and everyone's gonna look
like that. Yeah, it was on the same level of, like, Grease. I don't know, the only thing that I really, like, hated about this movie is just, like, seeing a man, or many men, just manipulate women. And I've been, like, I watched a handful of movies this weekend. I tried to watch... What's Wes Anderson's first one?
Bottle Rocket?
Bottle Rocket, and I got to the part where, what was his name? Luke Wilson starts, like, hitting on this girl who doesn't speak English, basically, and I had to turn it off. Because I was like, You're being creepy, I can't do it. Then I switched to Red Rocket, which is also about, like, a man You've seen it?
No, but I know the premise. The porn star,
yes. Good movie. I think it brilliantly acted, and I think they used a lot of real people, and it really shows. But, like, yeah, just this shitty guy manipulating his ex-wife, his mother-in-law, his, like, this teenager, shit like that. So, like, the line of movies that I've watched lately with just, like, weird, creepy, manipulative men has been insane. And, like, watching this, too, I was like, it gave me the heebie-jeebies, for sure.
Yeah, I do think one of the things that didn't age well and continues to be like, okay, this is a movie clearly made for, like, young women, right, are your target demographic, and the ultimate message that this movie sends is, like, if he follows you to Barnes & Noble, that means he's, like, really cool and he really likes you.
Yeah.
And, like, if he just continues to badger you, like, it just means that he actually is secretly really in love with you.
Yeah.
And it's, like, absolutely not.
No.
And her persistence of being like, I am not interested in you, and because it's Heath Ledger, it's charming, because he's hot and he's charming, but it's, like, you swap that out with somebody you don't think is fuckable, and suddenly it's, like, get the fuck away from me, right?
Horrifying.
And then at the end, obviously, she just, like, she finds out that he was a fucking liar.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, oh, you bought me a guitar? Okay.
Everything's fine!
But that final scene is, like, the two of them in the car and him being like, oh, like, I bought you this guitar with all the money that I was given to date you with. Like, here you go. And she's like, hey, but, you know, that really wasn't cool. And then he just starts kissing her. And then she, like, pulls back and she's like, but I would like an apology. And then he just starts kissing her again. And it's like, bro, what is the message of, like, just say sorry, right? Own up to your actions. Don't be like, ooh, I bought you this guitar, babe. No, that is not okay. Girls, if he pulls that shit, don't let gifts replace, you know, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Make him realize that what he's done, right? Like, make him repeat it back to you.
Yeah.
Tell me why what you did was wrong.
I need to know that you get this. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, that whole thing is, I'm like, oh, this is just, like, this is not okay. Heath Ledger, inventor of the promposal. Also, the whole, like, large romantic gesture being the way to apologize for poor behavior. Also, do not do that.
Yeah.
Do not do that. Do not do it to somebody you are not dating. Do not propose to somebody at Christmas while your family's around. Do not do that shit.
Yeah.
That is not okay. That puts so much unnecessary pressure on the person you're trying to woo.
Yeah.
So gross.
To be fair, though, if I was in that position, Heath Ledger pissed me off royally, went behind my back, manipulated me, showed up with I don't know, what could I ever possibly want in the world? Like, something. I don't know. I don't know what I need right now.
Like a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to earn my trust back.
But if it was Heath Ledger, like, yeah, I would do the same thing. I get it.
Much like Kat, all of the feminism leaves my body when I see Heath Ledger.
I mean,
I see
what
him,
do you expect?
Suddenly, like, he's hit me with his car, backed over me, and then gone forward again, and I get up and I apologize to him. And I ask if there's anything I can do to make the situation better.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Like, that's what's happening between me and Heath. Like, there is no courtship, there's no needing to pull strings and find out what I like. I'll change my personality for you, sir.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Also, a message to blonde men. Take notes. Look at Heath Ledger in this movie. Look at him. You could achieve that if you go to the store and get a box of hair dye.
Yeah. Easily. It's so perfect.
10 things I hate about you. More like 10 things I love about my mom, Jen.
Aww.
One of them is that she hosts this interim podcast segment, Chocolate or Vanilla, where she says 2 things, and we all say which one we like better. Jen, congratulations. It's your month.
Yay, I'm so happy. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Did you know this is our 3-year Swampaversary episode? So we're ringing it in with your banger of a first pick.
Oh my god, did we hit 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
This is insane.
Crazy,
that's so
right?
awesome. Oh my god.
Is there a theme this week?
So first of all, I was gonna do like movies loosely based on Shakespeare, and there are a lot of them, but I decided not to do that. I'm doing quotes from this movie, and you have to say which quote you like better.
Fabulous.
Okay, can I just say at the top that my favorite quote from this whole movie is, "Must be Nigel with the brie."
Oh my god, that's the first one. Stop it. Stop it. Spoiler.
Okay.
All right, so chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry?
Chocolate.
I'll say strawberry today.
Ooh, I think I will too. All right, so first one, Bogey Lowenstein. That must be Nigel with the brie. Or when Michael says, they kicked me out of the future NBA club because Bogey said he started a rumor that I buy my iZods at the outlet mall.
I love the cliques in this movie because it's so like in Mean Girls when they go around and identify like those are the stoners, those are the cheerleaders or whatever, but this movie is like those are the cowboys and those are the future NBA. It's like so like absurd. And I love like when they're hitting golf balls onto the like soccer fields or whatever. I just love must be Nigel with the brie. That's all-time fave.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Dara on this one. That had me giggling.
Okay, yeah, of course. That is the quote of this movie. Next one is some Kat quotes. She's got a lot of good ones, but when she goes on her rant, Hemingway was an abusive alcoholic misogynist who squandered half his life hanging around Picasso trying to nail his leftovers. Or when she says, hey, your eyes have a little green in them, and then she pukes.
I gotta say, I love the clapback scene with the teacher. That first opening scene, I think, is like the most like actual character depth we get out of Kat. Just like I feel like that really defines who she is. Is like I'm gonna say that Hemingway fucking sucks, and the teacher's like, can you please just like consider things beyond yourself for a fucking second? I love that opening scene. And the whole her throwing up thing that's not my jam. So I'm gonna have to go with her ragging on Hemingway. But there was that one girl who's like, he was so romantic, and there always was that one girl in English class who was always like, oh my god, I wish it was the 1920s. I wish it was Great Gatsby times. And I'm like, yeah, girl, because you're white. Like,
yeah. Yeah. I'll actually give it to the your eyes have a little green in them and then puke, because it does like sort of show the inkling of an interest that she has in him, and I like to see it blossom, so I'll go for that one.
Yeah, me too. I don't love, like you said, that she got so drunk at the party, but I thought she was really cute. All right, the two changes between Bianca and Chastity.
Can you be overwhelmed or underwhelmed?
Right, that's wait. Well, first, there's a difference between like and love. I like my Skechers, but I love
my Prada backpack.
The backpack. But I love my Skechers.
That's because you don't have a Prada backpack.
Oh. Or the next one. I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? You can in Europe.
I think you can in Europe. See, that's another thing is that this opening conversation between these two girls makes them to seem as if there's not a brain cell between the two of them, right? Like, they do not have two brain cells to rub together. They just seem so, like, airhead, vapid. But then later, we do see, like, Bianca does have some substance to her, like, or at least enough of a mind to know that Joey is, like, an asshole, right? So, like, that first scene just made me, like, you know, just makes you think that she is just going to be dumb as fucking bricks, like, the whole time, which would have been kind of funny, but I've gotta go with Can You Just Be Whelmed?
Yeah, I agree with you there. That one, yeah,
same. I'm gonna go with Can You Be Whelmed? Next one is some Patrick Verona quotes. When he goes, "Who knocked up your sister?" when she's wearing the pregnancy belly, or when he says, "Ooh, see that? Who needs hate? Who needs affection when I can have blind hatred?" Third one, "Hey there, girly."
Hey there, girly! Oh my god, so swept me off my feet. I thought you were gonna say, "What's up with this chick? She's got beer-flavored nipples or something." That's another really good one. What's up, girly? So, like, literally just, I'm ascending.
How could I not?
Yep, same. He sells that. I'm like, he just sells that to me.
Oh! Yeah. That little Australian accent. And I love that they just wrote it in.
Yeah, right. They're like, I guess that they were concerned about it, but then the director was like, nah, it makes him mysterious. And they were like, okay, let's run it. Like, because all the other actors they had, like, entertained for the role were obviously, like, American. It was, like, Ashton Kutcher and, like, fucking someone else. And they were like, oh, should we make him do an American accent? And they were like, nah, it adds to the mystery. I love it.
Yeah, the mystique.
Next one is some Joey Donner quotes. "Shit, Bianca, I'm shooting a nose spray ad tomorrow." Or when he's showing her the pictures of the black and white t-shirt headshot, and he's like, "Which one do you like?" And she's like, "I like the black, because it makes me look more..." And she says, "Pensive?" And he goes, "Damn, I was going for thoughtful."
That, the I'm shooting a nose spray ad tomorrow is so good. But that interaction, because that's when it turns for her that she's like, oh, this boy is not it. Like, this boy is not okay. So funny. Pensive? No, I was going for thoughtful. So good. I gotta pick that one.
I'm gonna go for the nose spray ad on this one.
Yeah, same. I think he delivers that like just chef's kiss. Yeah. Later on after the party though, when Bianca and Cameron kiss in the car and he goes, "I'm back in the game." That's
honorable mention.
Yeah. All right. So now Mr. Morgan's quotes. "I know how difficult it must be to overcome all those years of upper-class middle suburban oppression." And then the other one is when Mr. Morgan sends Kat to detention and Joey says, "Thanks." And he turns to him and he goes, "Shut up, Chachi." Or the other time when he goes, "Take up the glasses, Shaft."
Yeah, it's so funny. But it's always like, he's always like picking on the students pretty equally across the board, but it's always Kat that he's like, "Get the fuck out of here." He's like, you know, he's like roasting them, but then he's like, "Kat, you're pissing me off because you're a woman. You have to leave." I'll pick the first one though, because I do, that interaction just really sets up this movie for me.
Yeah. Agreed. I gotta go for the first.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with "Shut up, Chachi." Because that's my era of Joni loves Chachi and from Happy Days. So next one is Michael when he says to Patrick, "Excuse me, but should you be drinking alcohol when you don't have a liver?" And then at the dance when he goes, "The shit hath
hitteth the fanneth." It's gotta be "the shit hath hitteth the fanneth," because they do all of these like somewhat clever or just kind of obtuse or like obvious like nods to Shakespeare, right? That they're like, we're doing a Shakespeare thing, but then sometimes they throw it in that's so like dumb. Like Like those moments, like sometimes they make the characters like speak in a certain way that you're like, oh, they're really trying to hammer home that this is a Shakespeare adaptation. And that's, yeah, I think that's so funny because it's like, it's not taking itself too seriously, which is the whole fucking point. It's a rom-com, right?
I'm gonna go for the, are you sure you should be drinking if you don't have a liver?
Yeah, me too. The next one is Allison Janney, Miss Perky?
Yeah.
I think she's Miss Perky.
Yeah.
Very clever kangaroo boy. Says here you exposed yourself to the lunch lady. And then to Cameron, she says, I got deviants to see and a novel to write. Scoot, scoot.
Yeah, I've got a novel to write. Oh, a third?
A third. And then when she goes, Reginald's quivering member. I like that.
Yes. It's Reginald's quivering member for me. I love her little smut that she's writing just in the middle of not guiding or counseling anyone.
For some reason, the scoot scoot does it for me. I don't know what it is. Reginald's quivering member is also very good, but for some reason, the scoot scoot just...
Yeah, I'm gonna go Scoot Scoot too. She is a scene stealer in this, right? Yeah, she's so awesome. And her mug when she's like, "Oh, cat."
Yeah, so stupid.
Next one is more cat quotes. The dad's like, "Hello, Katerina. Make anyone cry today?" And she's like, "Sadly, no, but it's only 4:30." And then when she says to the guidance counselor, "I still maintain that he kicked himself in the balls."
I think the more famous one is the like piss make anyone cry today. No, but it's only 4:30. I think that one's like a little too like Tumblr gif overused for me. So I'm gonna have to go with the second one.
I also like the second one.
Yeah, same. And that was it. I could keep going with the quotes because there's so many good ones, but that was it.
Oh, I did love when Heath Ledger goes and he gets so offended. He's like, "Are you saying that I'm not pretty?"
Yes. Oh my god, when they're like, she has a picture of Jared Leto. That means she likes pretty guys.
Yeah,
pretty boys.
Which might be a problem. She likes the pretty boys.
I wanted the dad to snap back into his role from Princess Diaries and turn back into Paolo Puttanesca and do like a makeover scene where he like straightens Heath Ledger's hair and like takes his glasses off and suddenly it's Anne Hathaway. Like that would have been everything. I love
oh my god, iconic.
He ate a live duck. Everything but the beak and feet. I love that one.
Or when the dad's working out on the porch and he lets go of his
Thighmaster
rubber band thing. Yeah. Goes shooting into the neighbor's like window.
So good. Iconique. Well, Jen, this was really good. I just love to repeat back quotes from movies. And thank you for this great first pick. We look forward to a month-long... we got on the call and Emily was like, "Oh, it just dawned upon me that Jen's not like gonna be in the episode. Like it just, like that would make sense, right?" So it's like you get this like, secondary from afar.
I know. I might have to jump in on one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, as always, we love you and we'll see you next week.
Oh god, I love you guys so much. Have an awesome night.
Bye.
Love you, Jen.
Bye.
I do want to can we talk about the iconic song that Heath Ledger sings in this movie? And the whole, like...
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as far as, like, the big romantic gesture being cringe, this scene in this movie does make me really uncomfortable. As much as I love Heath Ledger. Anything he does, it's a yes from me. For some reason, this gives me the ick so hard, and I don't know if it's just, like... me putting myself in that position, being like, I would literally be mortified. And she seems like she'd be the kind of girl who would be mortified too, yet she's loving it. Yeah. And I'm like, who is this? This is not the character we've been introduced to, right? Like, up until this point, she is mad at him for this weird scenario where she tries to kiss him when she's drunk.
Yeah.
And then he, like, turns her down. Mm-hmm. And then she's, like, mad at him.
Which is, like, the responsible thing to do.
Exactly. And to me, I'm like, it should have been played off more that she was, like, embarrassed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she was like, oh, like, I made a fool of myself, whatever. Rather than her being like, you're a bad person who turned me down. Like, no!
I just didn't want to kiss you when you were drunk. Like...
Right? And so then him being like, oh, I'm gonna make it up to her by, like, fucking asking her to the prom by singing the song. It's fine, but...
That's not how he asked her to the prom, though. Right? He asked her to the prom later. No.
That's true.
He was just like, I need to embarrass myself and make her feel like... we're at the same level. You know what I mean?
I guess. I just equate it to being a promposal, because that's, like, the
it's
kind
so
of, like,
typical.
People in high school doing, like, big romantic gestures, and I'm like, can you get away from me? Like, I'm sorry, it's 7 a.m. and I'm in Spanish class. Like, why are we having a flash dance? So that Jason can ask Marissa to the prom, to the homecoming dance. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I did do a promposal once, and it is mortifying to be probably on either end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone
Bringing
does
in
it.
a homemade poster.
I remember being that age and, like, everyone does it, and suddenly you're like, is this how we tell people we like each other? Like,
yeah.
Is this mandatory?
Is this what we
like,
do? I don't know. What's going on? Yeah.
But that scene where he's, like, running around and dancing, there's just this one particular note he hits where his face gets, like, really, like, intense, and he's, like, holding this sort of strange, somewhat out-of-tune note, and he looks like he's passing a kidney stone. Like, he looks so pained in the face. Like, he's mostly smiling and running around, and it's all cutesy, but then just this moment zeroes in where he looks so physically pained to be singing that I'm like, this is so taking me out of it. It was so weird. Why, did you love this scene?
Oh, of course. Having never seen, I mean, like, obviously I've seen the scene before, but having never seen the movie, yes, I was charmed. What else am I gonna be? It's Heath Ledger singing Frankie Valli. You know, I loved it. I thought that he's like a pretty good singer. You know what I mean?
And that was him for real.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's this whole lore about how it was supposed to be a different song.
Yeah, I touch myself.
Yeah. Which just works.
I'm very glad that they went with this one.
Well, I think it was him. He showed up on set. And he just did this, but then they were like, oh, fuck, like, we're gonna have to get, like, this came out so good, but now we're gonna have to get the licensing for this. Yep. And it was not in the original plan, and they were like, damn, Heath, you can't really be improvising when it's, like, a $50,000 investment.
It's like,
what?
What? But it is iconic for it.
So charming.
So, yeah, I loved his little, like, running around. Why were the police trying to get him, though? For what?
Also,
there's no reason.
That whole, like, stadium area was so confusing to me. They have, like, Coliseum-esque... I mean, obviously their school is really beautiful and, like, probably well-funded or whatever. Like, it looks like fucking Hogwarts.
Yeah, it's like a big California campus, you know what I mean?
So, like, I get the budgeting is not really factoring into my opinion of this, but it's, like, the big concrete bleachers, like, the fucking Coliseum, and then they've got this massive sports field that whenever it's shown... every sports team is practicing at the same time. It's like we see Kat in her little soccer practice, but then it's also like people are playing football behind her, the marching band is also there, the cheerleaders. Like, why are we not on
rotating
rotating
days?
Days
going on?
They're like, okay, so we only booked this set for one day, so we just gotta film all of it at once, right?
Exactly.
I was just like, in what... I mean, that also just took me out of it. I'm like, why is her soccer practice happening at the same time as marching band?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense. And also, to be fair, they would never put women's soccer on the same field as a football practice. They would never.
They would have, like, a dirt lot out back, and they'd be like, that's where the girls' sports get to practice. Yeah. Sorry.
It is what it is. I don't know. I'll tell you what, though. I have never wanted to go somewhere as bad as this movie made me want to go to Club Skunk.
In the way that they were like, oh, she's really into, like, girl punk music, and then they show up and that's ska. Like, that was ska. I'm sorry, that was not punk girl music.
Which I think, well, I do think there's a little bit of overlap, especially in the 90s when, like, No Doubt started, like, popping up. Have you ever listened to some of that shit?
That's ska. That is ska. But also there's like, oh, she's into like feminist punk music, and they show up and it's the lead singer is a girl and everyone else in the band is a 50-year-old man. I'm like, yeah, this is feminist punk music for sure.
For sure.
Right. Yeah,
Bikini Kill's got nothing on this.
I thought you were gonna say this movie made you want to play paintball.
No, I do want to play paintball. I never have, but
I don't like weaponry, and I'm, like, not
That's
coordinated,
fair.
So I don't, like, even laser tag stresses, like, I go into fight or flight mode, like, I feel like a prey, and I don't like it. Like, I'm not
I played laser tag, like, probably, like, not this past summer, the summer before that, for the first time in, like, 10 plus years or something like that. That shit gets intense when you're playing it with adults.
Uh-huh.
Like, it was, like, me and my Trader Joe's coworkers.
Really?
We were sweating like pigs, dude.
You were letting that sexual tension just resolve itself out there on the laser tag field.
Truly.
Like, all the gays who work at Trader Joe's
exactly.
just really, like, tackling each other to the ground, and you're like, whoa!
Everyone's leaving a snail trail.
Contact. Yeah. Oh my god. No, I don't fuck with shit like that. But the way that he was, like, complaining about, like, if I have to take her to the movies, it's gonna be $200, which, honestly,
he's right.
Okay, Patrick Verona, you're actually so real for that, because it is gonna cost you $200 to take her to the movies. But then they, like, rent a duck boat and go paintballing, which that's like, if you're in high school, you know what you do for a date with someone? You go to Wendy's. Like, when you're in high school and you're taking somebody on a date, you're like, let's sit in my car and, like, listen to some music and then go to Wendy's. And then, like, maybe have sex in the woods, right? Like, that's a high school date, right? That's what you do in high school. I'm sorry, who is signing these waivers for these kids to be playing paintball? Absolutely not.
It's so funny that you brought up Wendy's, because... I mean, I'll just ruin it now. That's what I had as my my food for this. So
why?
Because it just felt very high school. I was like, a greasy, like, shitty burger. Like, you're not sitting down, or like, where else would you go? Applebee's? I don't want that. I'd prefer Wendy's.
You can't even afford that. You're like, Applebee's is shit and it's kind of expensive.
Exactly.
Like,
a Wendy's 4 for $4 is reasonable. I could pay for that. And I think that it was just like, I remember hanging out at Wendy's when I was a teenager, so.
But, like, that's the kind of date that Patrick Verona would take you on. He would take you to the greasy diner, or, like,
Kat would love
the fast food. Yeah, right? He's not taking you to play paintball, I'm sorry.
No.
Girls, he's not going to put that much thought, energy, or finances into taking you out on your second date.
No shot. Yeah, and this is the thing, is, like, I think Kat would love it, and, like, that bitch is seeing through anything that he's doing besides that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. That her whole character and her arc is just really confusing, because she is just sort of, like, weirdly hollow in this way that they introduce her, that they're like, she's a cunt, and she doesn't care what anyone thinks. But then it's like, she has friends, she does she has a lot of extracurricular activities, she seems to have hobbies and interests, right? So I'm just like, why is this not lining up, right?
Yeah.
Like, her whole, like, I absolutely hate everyone. I'm like, okay, I get that you're just, like, kind of cunty sometimes, but it's like, why can't we invest more time into, like, actually finding out who she is as a person, rather than just, like, the minute he starts dating her, she's like, okay.
Yeah, literally.
Right, really into this now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
this was written by women, though, right?
yeah, so this is written by, the director, don't care, has not done anything else that I know of.
Woman or man?
This movie, man, directed by a man, but written by Karen McCullough and Kristen Smith, who also wrote, wait for this, Legally Blonde, She's the Man, Ella Enchanted, and The House Bunny. Straight all bangers, like no misses.
Shit!
Yeah. They're like a duo of female screenwriters who just have written nothing but straight fucking chick flick bangers.
Oh, I fucking love that.
But it does make the kind of misogyny in this movie be like, what? like,
also, like, thinking about it, like, what's gonna get this greenlit by, I mean, it was a pretty big, well, it's a pretty big, production company that put it out, right?
I don't know, probably. It did pretty well, I think, in the box office. Like, it was regarded as, like, pretty successful. Yeah. Even though I think now it would be considered, like, a cult classic, which to me, the implication of cult classic means it failed originally and then was, like, a fan base, like, uplifted it later, right? Like a Jennifer's Body kind of thing. Yeah. Like, originally was a flop, but then, like, the real fans, like, came through for it later. Yeah. So I don't know if you can say this was a cult classic, because I think people really liked it when it came out. Like, it was very of the time.
I think it's just a classic, then.
Yeah. Wait, can I tell you, speaking of cults, though?
Please.
The guy who plays Joey, the like, boy who wants to date Bianca, the, like, the rich boy who just, like, keeps a bunch of $100 bills on him at all times, despite being in high school. That actor, Andrew Keegan, is a cult leader now. He founded a religion, quote unquote, called Full Circle in Venice Beach, California. And it's so wild. I was like going down this rabbit hole. It actually doesn't seem to be as like problematic as a lot that you would assume, right? Like on paper, like cult leader. Like they don't really, like probably some money laundering or something, but it doesn't seem like anything has come forward that this cult or like religion is like, you know, trapping women or like abusing people or make people live on a commune or anything like that. It seems kind of, as far as cults go, kind of mild, but it's called Full Circle. And in 2011, this guy Andrew Keegan got mugged on the same day that the tsunami in Japan happened, and he took these coinciding events as fate that he had to start a religion. He's like, the fact that I got mugged on the same day as the Japanese tsunami means I have to start a new religion. Which is like, what? And he's
Where
like really
do you get that?
He's like really into crystals, and their whole, it's like any other cult, right? Like super vague ideology, just being like, oh, people coming together and like celebrating harmony and unity within oneself. Like really just so vague.
Yeah.
But yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's wild. It checks out though.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming he
like,
didn't do any movies after this.
He did. I mean, he was like a TV. I think he was on that show like Party of Five or something. Like he was like a TV guy. And he was like a teen heartthrob like through the early 2000s, and then again once he sort of aged out of being like a teeny bopper, he like founded a religion.
Speaking of teen heartthrobs, was Joseph Gordon-Levitt a teen heartthrob? I can't recall.
I couldn't tell you again because I think we weren't the right age group when this movie came out. Like, we were just born. So I don't really know. Like, my first impressions of Joseph Gordon-Levitt growing up were, like, he was fully an adult, right?
Yeah.
Like 500 Days of Summer and, like, Looper. Like, that's an adult man. Yeah. So I don't really know. But was he, like, a hottie? Were people into it? Or
I don't know. He's a cutie. He was definitely a little cutie.
Was he typecast as, like, scrawny boy with a heart of gold? Like, was that the vibe?
Who could say?
But yeah, this was like his sort of breakout role. And have you ever seen people put photos of him next to Heath Ledger that their faces look really similar?
No.
Like, you would never think it just sort of looking at them just because they're just so wildly different in energy. But if you do a side-by-side comparison of the two of them more into their adult years, they look very similar.
I'll have to look at it.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description below of a picture if anyone's interested.
Sweet.
Or if you just Google, like, Heath Ledger, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, look-alike or whatever.
Yeah, I will say, there's just something about that big-ass smile that Heath Ledger has that no one else.
He was really the blueprint.
But shall we get into our regularly scheduled programming?
Yes, let's do it. So even though Heath Ledger is 20, but he's in high school, as are a lot of the other characters, we'll do Fuck, Marry, Kill. Do we want to do Alice and Janney, the OBGYN dad,
and the teacher.
And then maybe, like, the teacher? Yeah.
Well, I'm marrying Alice and Janney.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna wait for that book deal to really pop off, and we're gonna move anywhere but there, and we're gonna live a lavish life in a gorgeous, beautiful house. I will be her stay-at-home wife. I'll have kids if she wants them. Fine, whatever.
I'll be her editor-in-chief.
Oh, I love that. Power couple.
I'll be reviewing the manuscripts, right? I'll be like, these are words that mean engorged. Let me pull up a thesaurus for you, babe. Like,
oh, true. Yeah, love that. Love her. I'm gonna fuck the teacher. Because I'm not gonna fuck the dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dead.
There's like this weird like plot hole where we don't really know what happened to their mom. Because it seems she's dead. It seems like she's dead up until they're like when mom left. And I'm left this earth? Like left
where?
Life?
Yeah.
Or like just fucking dipped. And I'm like, okay, but honestly if I was married to that man too, I also might run away.
Yeah,
like
fair.
He was too much. But yeah, that whole plot hole was, I'm just like, can we resolve this a little bit? Because the only thing we get from it is that Kat is like, oh, I was really, like, upset after mom left, so I had sex. Which is just like, okay. Like, okay to loop your trauma in, I guess, but, like, can we get some, like, maybe that's why your relationship with your sister is so tumultuous. Like,
Yeah.
we get a little bit of it, but I'm just like, what? What? Okay.
One thing I do really like is that they put this in, and it was like, Kat said she fucked, what was his name, Joey?
Joey.
Yeah, she fucked Joey, and then she decided, she was like, I'm not ready to be having sex. I really like that they put that in. Just because, like, listen, once you've, quote-unquote, like, lost your V card, that doesn't mean shit. Like, if you don't want to fuck, you don't have to fuck. I think that's just, you know what I mean?
Especially if you're in high school.
Yes.
Because there is very much that, like, oh, other people are doing it. And, oh, everyone's talking about it, right? That whole thing. Where she says that she did it in 9th grade. That's very,
that's
like,
young.
early. Like, yeah, if you're in 9th grade and you have sex and you don't like it, that's probably super normal. Like, yeah, you probably should take a step back and be like, I'm all set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
I'm like, girly pop, you're not gonna start liking it until you're probably, like, 20 and you've met a man that's, like, knows what he's
Heath
doing.
Ledger.
Yeah.
Until Heath Ledger steps into the picture. Because that's a 35-year-old man.
Yeah.
That's an adult. Like,
but I just thought that was, like, again, like,
Yeah.
with all of, like, the PMS and period jokes and all that shit, like, I did think that was something that was important to have added in there.
yeah. Yeah, and that and, like, the, like, him not kissing her when they're drunk and stuff like
Yes.
that. Like, that's, I'm like, oh, written by a woman, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the tidbits that I'm like, oh, okay. So it's like,
Exactly.
we do the flashy misogyny jokes for laughs, but it's, like, actually at a baseline.
Yeah.
Some good stuff.
Yeah, well, it's basically, like, especially since, like we said, like, they're pitching this to a big production company or whatever, it's very much like a shaking, like, the shiny thing and, like, the car keys, like, look over here, while you're sliding in, like, actually important, plot, like, little details.
They're like, look, he's paid to take her out and she's super into it. And then we're like, drop little bits of, like, you know. I liked the Shakespeare relationship of how, like, that is the good one in here where I'm like, oh, he, like, learned her interest and is, like, doing cute little things that are, like, private and not flashy to, like, ask her to the dance of, like, a thing that she likes. I'm like, oh, can we, even though it's, like, David Krumholtz is 97, like, what, he's so old, why is he in high school? But I did like that little side line between the two of them, because I'm like, we didn't need it, like, it's completely unnecessary, but just, like, tying more characters together I thought was really cute.
I agree.
This movie is, like, aggressively, like, we're doing Shakespeare. Like, every, like, Patrick Verona. And, like, it's Cat Stratford and all of their names and all, like, the name of their high school and everything. I'm like, okay, we get it. Like, we get it. But I completely have to agree with you. I'm totally gonna marry Allison Janney. Smut power couple. She would be popping off on Book Talk. Like, Sarah J. Maas, who? No. Allison Janney in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Truly.
And yeah, totally killing the dad. I'm making him wear the pregnancy suit. I'm gonna do torture to him. I'm gonna make him, like, put on a period cramp simulator.
Yeah, I love seeing men do those.
I'm gonna beat the misogyny out of him. I'm like, why are you treating your daughters like sexual objects? You freak! Like, go to therapy! Jesus. And then even though the teacher also seems like he hates women, like, Kat, like, breathes and he's like, leave my classroom. Which is, like, played off for laughs, but I'm like, bro, like, there's way more problematic shit happening. But yeah, I'll have sex with him, I guess.
And I already said what I was gonna do for food.
Yeah,
what's your
Wendy's,
food?
I love that. So pretty basic. There's, like, a lot of food references in this movie, but just the one that stands out to me is when they're like, you know, she likes pina coladas getting caught in the rain. It's very like, she likes Thai food, feminist prose, and indie, like, punk girl music of the indie rock persuasion. I'm like, ew, like, oh, that's so cringe. But, like, okay, and he's like, what do I have to do? Like, get her some noodles and listen to girls who can't play their instruments? I just thought that whole exchange was very memorable to me. So I think order some Thai food from your local, because again, like, it'll hopefully cheap, you know, tasty, easy. Takeout, this is totally a takeout, like, sleepover with the girls, we're gonna get takeout and, like, you know, have drinks and watch chick flicks. So I think you order some Thai food, and then I googled, like, cocktail pairings to go with this movie, and the most popular one was a prickly pear martini, like, because she's prickly, because she's, like, a tempestuous woman.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm like, instead of her, let's focus on Heath Ledger, because that's what I'm doing, and you're gonna have a dark and stormy. he's sort of dark and stormy.
That's good.
So I think you have that with your Thai food. And then I'm going to follow it up with a progression of, part of me is like, oh, watch The Dark Knight, right? Like, but then I'm like, no, because I'm going to be like in shambles. Like, absolutely not.
Are you about to say A Knight's Tale?
No, but is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
That would have been crazy. No, I love A Knight's Tale, though. I think you do another step. You're in the mood. You're watching rom-coms, chick flicks. I'm in a good headspace. I don't want to ruin that. Another chick flick that I think is good, and I really like that it's like, okay, we're moving on from adults playing high schoolers to like, let's just make a rom-com where adults play adults, right? And another, like, not fake dating, but it's very like, you know, situationally people being pushed together, but like, ooh, the romance is real. Pretty Woman.
Love
it. It's just another sort of like super tropey, but done so well, and the actors have chemistry, and I think very much in the same way that Julia Roberts in that movie, like, no one has ever looked better. That's how I feel about Heath Ledger in this movie, right?
Yeah.
So the two of them, like, you just get to watch, like, really hot people be in rom-coms with people who, like, they actually have chemistry with. Oh, chef's kiss. That's what I want.
Totally agree with you there. That's brilliant. Yeah, I put on A Knight's Tale this morning because I just needed more little baby Heath Ledger, so.
Blonde. Not my favorite, but...
Yeah, but he's still, you know, I think for him, you can look past it.
I can, and I will.
Absolutely. And out of 10, what are you giving this movie? I give it an 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say 7, but 8, so between a 7 and an 8 feels, because it's like, yeah, it's not great, it's not perfect, it's not the best movie in the world.
I'm not saying it's a
like,
great movie, but did I like it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And I'm glad you did, because I was really, like, nervous to my core that we were going to hop on this call, and you were going to be, like, problematic, bad writing, uninteresting, and I was going to be like, I'm fighting for my life to defend this movie that objectively just is really poor to its female characters, like...
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun. Hour 30, perfect.
Just classic. So thanks, Jen. What a great pick. And happy 3-year Swampaversary, everyone. If you want to support us, the best way you can do that is just by following us on social media, liking our content, comment things, send us messages, tell us what kind of themes, movies, anything you want us to talk about. But if you extra want to support us, we do have a Patreon. It's only $2.86 a month. We release about one bonus episode a month where we usually just talk about fucking whatever, and it's pretty cheap, and I would like to say that we price it accordingly to the content provided. You know, I'm not asking anyone for $10 a month, because I just don't have the bandwidth to give you $10 worth of content. Yeah. But I wish I could. I wish I could give you $1,000 worth of content.
Yeah. But
yeah, thank you.
All the money that, like, we make from something like that usually goes to, like, putting our podcast on, like, the streaming platform that it's on and everything like that. So we really do appreciate you guys, because it does keep us going, kind of.
Oh yeah, we make negative money from doing this, actually. Like, it's hilarious. Our merch, I just pay a manufacturer to make our merch, but then it's like net zero, so it's like when you buy it, that just simply was the cost it made to make that sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I can't charge people $40 for a hoodie, that's gross.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are so happy to be here. Would love to do it professionally, you know, someday. But obviously I say the cunt word too much for anyone to want to back us for advertising. So you know what? Fuck them. And love you all. Thank you for listening. And goodbye. And good night.